I'm Raj and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So this is the sixth video in the Python tutorial series, and today we'll talk about basic input and output formatting in Python. So let us start the session. So in Python, uh, taking an input is a very easy task. So all we have is an input function, something like this. So as soon as I run it, it will be popping up a bar in which I can give the input. Let's say I give an input of 324 and I press an enter. So it is showing me a string value, which is the number itself, but in a string codes. So what does this mean? This means that whatever you give to Python as an input, it will be by default taken as a string. So let's say you want to take it as an integer. So you can typecast it, which I have shown in the previous video. So this is not just for integer, for any data type. Let's say you want to take a float as an input. So you can use this input function and you can just typecast that input, whatever the user has given input, into a float variable by using the function, the respective function for float. So let's say we can take an example of this. I can just slightly change this. Let's say I want to take an integer input using this input function. So I can run it and I can just simply give an input of 536. So it is giving me a value of 536, which is not in string code. So it is converting the value from the by default string to integer. But we are not just simply limiting this way of inputting the values by just having a blank text box or something like that. So what we can do other than this, we can have a prompt text as well. Let's say I want to take an input in a beautiful way by saying that enter a number, or enter your name, or enter your roll number, etc., etc. So what I can do in this input parenthesis, like after the parenthesis of the word input, I can give a string in double quotes saying that prompt value or saying that prompt string. Let's say I am giving enter a number. And as soon as I run it, it will take this string as a prompt string, and it will give me a beautiful way of taking input. Enter a number. Let's say I give a number of 789, and it is printing this value 789. But you have to store this 789 into a variable in order to use it. So what we do is, let's say I want to I take a variable of name A, and I want to store this input value into this variable. And similarly, I will take a value B, or I can take a variable B, which will save another value or another number. So I will do the same thing. Input, enter second number, I will change it to the first number. You can have a colon as well. Perfect. So now I give enter the first number. So let's say 25. Enter the second number. Let's say 36. Perfect. And now I can print those values using print function. So whatever we have given as an input, it is perfectly storing it into the variables A and B. So now we can use these variables A and B to do perform any operations, or we can manipulate the values which are stored in them. Let's say I want to give an input as a string. So by default, it is taking Python takes input as string, so we don't need to typecast it again, but we can just directly use it. But let's say I want to give a decimal point number into the system. Then how I can do that? I can just use float input enter a floating point number or whatever the string you want to give. Let's say 12.5638, sorry. So it will return the exact value as I entered it. Let's say I change this float into integer and I pass the same input or any other floating point number to it. So it is giving me a value error. Why? The reason is we are not converting a float value to an integer value, as we are converting a string value to integer value. So what this integer function is thinking of is thinking that whatever the string that I am converting to integer is having a number, a particular integer in it. So but in actually it is having a floating point number. So that's why the value error is occur. So just have to keep in mind that if you are intending to have an integer as an input, so you make sure that your user only enters an integer, not a floating point number, because this kind of error will be occurring whenever whenever the user is trying to give a false input or trying to mess with the system. So this was the basic way to take an input from using Python, but there are several advanced ways as well. But we will get to it when we study about lists and strings, because in that part you will clearly understand when to use that method and when to use this method. So for now we'll move forward towards output. So as I think we have already already know how to give an output in Python. So we use this print function. So whatever we give in this print, let's say I give a random text, so it will output it. So that's very easy in Python, that as compared to other languages where printing, like other languages like C, where printing something takes is a somewhat complicated task, because we have to keep in mind what is the variable type and how to represent that variable in terms of single quotes and etc. So that's very messy stuff, but Python is very easy in terms of that. So let's say I have two variables, a equals to 15 and b equals to 2.5, and I want to output these two values something like, let's say I like the values of a equals to 15 and b is equals to 2.5 are correct. Let's say I want something output something like this. So there are multiple ways to do this. Let's say, so the most easiest way is to write the values of a equals to comma b comma and b equals to b comma are correct. So in this particular, it is mostly concatenating the values using this comma. So what Python will do in this case is it will print the values of a equals to, and then will have a space in between because of this comma. Then it will print the value of a, again space, then and b equals to, then again space, b, then space, are correct. So as soon as I print it, so you can see this space between equal to sign and 15, and here equal to, then space and 2.5. So that's why you can use this way as well, or there is another way we can use this. This values of a equals to, and you can use this percentage symbol s, and b equals to percentage symbol s, correct. So here we don't have any spaces in between. So let me explain you this way of presenting it. So here we are having two things to notice: this percentage symbol and the S succeeding it. So what this S means? S means string, and this percentage. So we are decoding it, or we are just simply putting these values of A and B written over here into this part, this string. So this first S will be replaced by A and the second S will be replaced by B, and we will get output something like this. Remember guys, this S stands for string. So you can also use D or I for integer and F for float. So there is a slight difference between I and F. So let's say we have this B as a float value. So if I write I here or D here, so it will remove, or it will ignore the part which is after the decimal point. It will only output B equals to 2. But if I keep F, percentage F here, so it will attach some succeeding zeros as well as a floating point representation. But if I only use S, then it will only print whatever the value that I have assigned to the value of variable B. It is only 2.5, no succeeding zeros. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Also, let's say I have a big floating point number and I want to present it in a good way. Or let's say I have a number something like 5, 4, 1, 2, 3. This is a very big number. Let's say I want to present it in a form of 5.14 E, and it will be plus whatever the number of zeros that will be preceding it. Let's say it is 10. I want to represent this number in this way. Then we can use the format function for it. So let's first save this value into a variable. Let's say it is A, and A equals to this. So now we can use this format function to format our output in a good way, or the way which we want to. So we'll use this for function in print function. So let's say I format what I want to format. I want to format the value in A. So A comma will pass a short string here. So let's say I have to give an integer, let's say 5.2 E. So what does this mean? Let's say I print it. So it will giving me a string of output of 5.15 E to the power 10. So how 5.15? So here this 5 means what are the number of spaces that I want from the preceding text. So in this case there are no preceding text, so we won't have any extra spaces over here. But let's have a preceding text of value is, so it will have a 5 character place reserved for this number, and this 2 represents the number of values that I want after decimal point. So it will only have 5.15, and so whatever the number which is left, it will be shown in this power part, e to the power 10. So it is just a way of giving an output in a certain way. It has nothing to do with the changing of values or anything. So that's it in this video, guys. Thanks for watching. Thank you for your time. Take care of your health, and we'll meet next time. Keep liking, keep sharing, and keep subscribing this channel.